Greetings and peace to our viewers and listeners around the world. Today I'm joined by Sheikh Sufi of the Murid Tariqa of Sufism, and he has graced us with his presence. And I wanted to ask him first to tell us a little bit about himself and to give us the teachings of Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry and how they are similar. And I will hand it over to him now, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, blessings, and light of the grand architect of the universe be upon you. My name is Cheikh Sufi. I'm walking on the path that is 3 steps of Iman, Islam, and Ihsan. 5 steps of the 5 pillars of Islam, and the next 7 steps are the 7 steps of the stations of the soul. It's a blessing to speak to our brothers of the white cloth. Praise God. We traveled through the rubbish pile and found a spider on an old man's shoulder. And the old man said he was looking for a dog about this tall, with a collar around his neck, traveling east. I sat with the old man on the rubbish pile, and he spoke to me about King Solomon's temple and some tools called a square and a compass. I decided to go from a rough ashlar to a smooth ashlar by the science and alchemy of the master in the Far East. And here we are today with our brother who is a master from the Far East. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege. Our viewers would like to know is what is the connection that Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry share, what you can teach us about it, and in the end of your talk, please let us, the viewers, know where to find you and how they can get in touch with you if they want to do any lectures from you or get any type of service from you, inshallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You know, Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry are the same light shining through a prism. If you shine a beam of light through a prism, when it comes out through the prism, it can produce 7 rays of light, but it's the same light. I traveled through the Masonic Lodge, Prince Hall affiliate, many years ago, and in the lodge I learned about the perfecting of the character and the perfecting of the self. This science of building your character in the temple of the mind is the same science that we have in the Sufi path. If you study the ancient Sufi orders, we met at places called lodges. And we had symbols on the outside of the lodge that would spell in Arabic, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, but if you look at the Arabic letters for Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you will see the exact same square and compass. In Arabic, let me see. This is a 7, and this is an 8. If you put those two together, you have the square and the compass from the Masonic Lodge, and that was on the Sufi lodges where we met. For all of my brothers of the craft, one of the best books I ever read on this topic was The Mystics of Islam by Manly P. Hall. If you want to verify what I'm saying, find Manly P. Hall's book, The Mystics of Islam. Manly P. Hall is one of the greatest Masonic authors in the history of the world. He gives documentation of how the Masonic teachings are related to the Sufi lodges of the days of old.
Yes.
So we must raise our compass above our square. You must raise your compass above your square. The square, the 4 points, represents the lower self. The square north, south, east, and west represents the earth. The compass draws a circle, and everybody knows the circle represents the heaven. One of my favorite symbols was always the point within the circle. The point within the circle is telling you that God, the great architect of the universe, is the center of existence, and everything circumambulates around this one being that we call God. One of the greatest things we can do as brothers and sisters of the craft is seek to perfect our character. And everyone knows, if you ever travel up the left side for the Knights Templars or the right side for the Scottish Rite, you will come to a place called I don't know if I can say this in public. You will come to a desert, and you will have to either walk or ride across that desert to enter into the mystic shrine. And when you get into the mystic shrine, everyone knows it's related to the Kaaba of Islam. So we need to realize these facts. The first time I heard about the Holy Quran was in a Masonic temple. Let's just be honest. I ain't heard about no Holy Quran until I was in the lodge. And they said if I go all the way up the left or the right side, I will receive a secret book called the Holy Quran. Now, I had 2 college degrees at this time, and I was like, you know what, I can go to Borders bookstore and get me a Quran. So I thank the Masonic Lodge for these teachings. One thing I want to clear up for the public is the Masonic Lodge is not a secret society. It is a society with secrets.
Yes.
The Masonic Lodge is not a secret society. It is a society with secrets. A secret society will not have an emblem on their building, and they will not have emblems on the back of their cars to tell you that they are members of this. So the Masonic Lodge has been given a bad rap by society. When I was traveling through the lodge, taking steps of 3, 5, and 7 on the checkerboard of black and white squares, I learned a lot. My worshipful master in the lodge had the entire middle chamber lecture memorized, and for people in the lodge, you know what I'm talking about. This man had the entire middle chamber lecture memorized, and to see him give it during the 2nd degree initiations was like, whoa, like how does he have all this information memorized? We thank the grand architect of the universe for these teachings. One thing I must say is that one of our predecessors, the great Hiram Abiff, was hit 3 times in the heart, the throat, and the forehead. If I told you what that really meant, you would call me tomorrow. Secondly, King Solomon, Nabi Suleiman, is the wisest man in the history of Masonic teachings. He is the worshipful master that sits in the east, and he is a Muslim. I'm a Sufi Sheikh. I studied King Solomon, and I know the magic square of King Solomon and the 357 inside of the magic square that comes from him. The 7 seals of Solomon go with the 7 planets, the 7 angels, the 7 Ruhanis, and the 7 names of God. All of this is Sufi science. I think I've said enough, and some things I want to say cannot be spoken in the public. Our brother is doing a very, 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 very great work in showing the similarities of all traditions. I just came from a bookstore. I got a Hindu book in that bag, a Buddhist book in that bag, a Christian metaphysics book in the bag. I didn't buy one book on Islam, but I'm studying the sciences of the world, and I got I Ching divination in the bag. All this to say that the G inside of the square and compass represents God, and that God can be found inside of your heart. We thank you. We thank you. Take the steps between Boaz and Joachim, the two pillars, and walk straight into the middle and grab the holy book, which is inside of yourself. Peace, love, truth, and happiness. Sheikh Sufi Ba. Salam wa Nur.
Oh, thank you for that so much. We're honored and privileged to have you join our platform. Now, please tell the viewers where to find you, and how can you guide them? How can you guide a Mason to better understand Sufism and to find that middle path between the two, between a Sufi initiate and a Masonic initiate? How do both of them share the same destiny? And with the conclusion of where the viewers can find you and contact you.
There's a book by Mustafa El-Amin called Ancient Egypt, Freemasonry, and the Islamic Destiny. Ancient Egypt, Freemasonry, and the Islamic Destiny by Mustafa El-Amin is a great book to show the relationship between ancient Egypt or Kemet, the Masonic Lodge, and Islam, because everyone knows the original builders who built the pyramid were the original stonemasons. And in ancient Kemet, the first degree took 3 years. The second degree took 5 years. And the third degree took 7 years. You were not getting these degrees, first degree first month, second degree in the second month, and the third degree in the third month. What kind of masonry is this where you could be a master mason in 3 months, and in ancient Kemet it took 15 years? So the similarity is that all of these esoteric traditions can be found in the ancient Egyptian mystery system, and the working tools of the Masonic Lodge are engraved in stone in the hieroglyphics. So the first Masons were the ancient Egyptians in ancient Kemet, and you find the origins of some Islamic prayers in the ancient Kemetic system, because the positions in the Islamic Salat are also engraved in hieroglyphics in the pyramids. So you see one great school of ancient Kemet that has the origin of these esoteric systems that we find here today. If you ask me where you can find me, it brings me back to an old catechism. You can always find me between the square and the compass. I will always circumscribe my passions. But my email is sheikhsufi@gmail.com. CHEIKHSUFI@gmail.com. You can reach out to me. Also, I have Sheikh Sufi page on YouTube, CHEIKHSUFI on YouTube, and Sheikh Sufi on Instagram. It's a beautiful, beautiful blessing to share some of these teachings. And that's all I can say for the public at this time.
One last question.
Yeah, I love questions.
So, how about the Masonic education system in the West, where they only want to give credits to the Greeks and the Romans in terms of esoteric and spiritual knowledge? But how come anybody from the East is not mentioned, or why is Islamic Sufism or the teachers, the Brethren of Purity, the 787 outside of the lodges, and the Knights Templars meeting with the Sufis? A lot of these things are neglected in the Masonic education system. Why is that so, and what's the best answer that you can give me for a public only?
The best answer is, he who controls the pen controls the past and the future. If I'm writing a story, I can tell the story the way I want. I don't blame the Eurocentric Masons for painting Masonry as a white institution. I don't blame them. It makes them look good. It makes them feel good. If you're writing a story, they paint it all white. But everybody knows Aristotle is short for Aristotle, and Plato is short for plagiarized it. Aristotle and Plato didn't have a single book Zero. They went and studied in Kemet in Egypt and came back with over 300 books, according to the Masons. Now, how is it that they didn't have one book before they went there? And when they came back from Kemet, they had over 300 books. They stole those books. But, you know, Aristotle, he stole it. And Plato, he plagiarized it. The Pythagorean theorem of Euclid's in the lots. We study this 3, 5, and 7 of Euclid's triangle. Everybody knows that a squared plus b squared plus c squared was from the people who built the temples, the people in Egypt who built the pyramids. That formula is from ancient Africa and Egypt. A squared plus b squared equals c squared is not from Pythagoras. They had that formula. You can't build a pyramid without that formula. It's not rocket science. So the original builders were Africans in ancient Egypt. Whoever controls the pen controls the past and the future, because they're going to tell the story in their own favor. There's a story I like to tell to illustrate this. One day, a man and a lion were walking through the jungle, and the man told the lion, "I'm the king of the jungle." And the lion said to the man, "Everybody knows I'm the king of the jungle." The lion said, No, I'm the king of the jungle." The man said, "I'm the king of the jungle." As they walked, they found a statue of a man tearing open a lion's mouth and destroying the lion. And the man said to the lion, "You see that statue? I told you I'm the king of the jungle." The lion asked the man, "Who made that statue?" We tell the story to make us look good.
That's right.
But the original Masonic teachings come out of ancient Kemet, ancient Africa, and the people who built those systems were not Europeans. Thank you very much.
Well, I thank you for sharing that, because Pythagoras is known as the master of numbers, but he had went to Kemet, ancient Egypt, to study for 20 years before getting initiated. So how can you be a master of something before being initiated into anything?
Yeah.
And also when Egypt was colonized by the Romans and the Greeks, a lot of them when they were there, they didn't want to conform to the Egyptian language or culture. Everything had to be Greek. So what makes you think that the books and the knowledge that were there were kind of like taken as their own? Now, don't take it wrong, because my channel promotes peace, love, and unity between all, but we have to give credit where it's due sometimes, and my channel always talks about things that others often avoid in their channels or topics of discussions. Now, one final question I would like to ask Sheikh Sufi Ba is, what is the connection between Hassan Saba, the old man of the mountain, Freemasonry, Sufism, and the Knights Templars, and how they encountered each other?
I don't know much about Hassan Saba. Was he one of the people who was with the assassins in the Hashis?
Yes. So the Templars had studied with the Sufis, and they had encountered the assassins too, which were Ismaili Shias.
Okay.
So what's the link between all of them, where when the Templars had went back, they were considered converts? Basically, a lot of people were saying they had converted to Islam, and then the church had started seeing them as a threat and started prosecuting them.
Yeah, I know. I haven't studied this in over 20 years, but when I was studying in the lodge, I did some studies on what we call the Knights Templars, or the 28th degree. And the books from the Knights Templars say that they trained with the people called the assassins, and they were taught by the assassins, and the assassins who trained the Knights Templars were Muslims. They were Muslims who worked with the Knights Templars and gave them the teachings. That's all I can remember from over 20 years ago.
Well, we thank you so much for your knowledge, for your love, and your light for all of our viewers around the world. I will leave your contact information in the description box below. Are there any final closing thoughts or remarks about Sufism, Islam, and Freemasonry and what they share before we conclude this episode?
The great Master Baba Mahayadeen says, "Separate from yourself that which separates you from others. separate from yourself that which separates you from others. The Mason, the Sufi, the Muslim, the Shriner, we're all worshiping at the Kaaba. We're all worshiping the grand architect of the universe. There's only one God. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, it says, "Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one." In the Holy Quran, it says, "Kul hu Allahu ahad," say God is one. So we are all working on this path. And in the Masonic Lodge, we use the working tools to perfect our character. And the Prophet Muhammad said, "I came to perfect the character." So it's the same teaching. I tell people, Masonry is Islam for people in the West. That's all it is. Masonry is Islam for people in the West. I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. When people go into the shrine, the password is Assalamu Alaikum, and they open the meetings with Al-Fatiha, the first chapter of the Quran. So we are one, but the Masons want to hide. A Mason will be a minister in a church. And at the meeting on Saturday, he reading out the Holy Quran, and he hide the Quran in his house from his family. That's not just. Let's be honest. We all know there's only one God, whether you call him Yahweh, Jehovah, Brahma, Shiva, Allah, or Jesus. It's one God. And this is what the Sufis are traveling toward, that one God that we call Allah. So the unity between the systems is greater than the outward forms and outward differences. The unity between Islam, Masonry, and Sufism is found in the principal core teachings, but the outer presentation might look different. I remember me and some of my brothers from the mosque, we went to go talk to these brothers at the shrine. The Shriners told us they practice Islam in secret, and they said some of them even go to Mecca to make Hajj. This is what the shrine, they won't tell you that in public, but me and the brothers went and knocked on that shrine door and said, "We need to talk, because y'all got a star and crescent on the outside of y'all building, and we know it says Shrine of the Kaaba on the building, and we know that that Kaaba is a part of Islam." So we had a wonderful, beautiful talk. The Shriners were so happy to see us, and they said, "Come back anytime." Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you were able to find some light out of this. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me at salmansheikh911@gmail.com. Or if you would like to book Cheikh Sufi Ba for a lecture, or would like to contact him for any services that he provides, I'll leave his YouTube channel info and his Gmail information in the description box below. Thank you so much.